Hello students. Today I am going to show you how you write incomplete answer and score less marks in English literature paper. While it is super easy to score 100 out of 100 in literature paper just by using some simple techniques. So today I am going to unlock the treasure chest for you, and if you want to know those techniques, please stay tuned. As you have already seen the screen here, on the screen it is written today's topic, an angel in disguise. So in order to teach you those techniques, where to use the keywords and key phrases, which key points you must include in your answer, I have chosen 5 questions from the text An Angel in Disguise. And those 5 questions are also very much important for those students who will appear in the ICSE exam 2024. So, before we get started, let me welcome you. Okay, my students, welcome to Dr. Academy. Here you are here to learn English like a pro, and here let your knowledge grow with me. So let's get started. Here it is, the first question before you on the screen. What caused the death of the children's mother? The very story An Angel in Disguise begins with a very tragic incident, the death of her mother. Okay, now you might be asked the reason of her death, but how you write the incomplete answer? Here you see. Because most of the students will write that she was an alcoholic lady, and one day in her drunken fit, she fell on the threshold of the heart and died. This is the incomplete answer, and you will not be awarded full marks for this answer. Why? You know, here it is. Here you see, I have quoted from the text because these are the beginning sentences of the story. Idleness, vice, intemperance had done their miserable work. So here, these three, idleness, vice, and intemperance, these three key words you must use while writing this answer. But you will only write what? Now her drunken feet. She was an alcoholic. Now, here you see, let me explain you these words one by one and its relevance to the text. Idleness means this mother or the woman here was idle, was lazy. Therefore, she remained a poor woman. And the second one, vice. She was also an immoral character, an immoral woman. Therefore, she had been a subject to the villagers' criticism. No one liked her, even she was disliked by the children of the village. And the third point is the most important one, as here you can see, I am encircling it. Intemperance. What is the meaning of the word intemperance? It is nothing but excessive intake of alcohol. Obviously, we know that the mother was an alcoholic lady, and one day in her drunken fit, she fell upon the threshold of her heart and she died, leaving her three children all alone in this world of misery. Okay, so here from, I hope you got the idea how not to write the incomplete answer. Hope it will help you a lot. Now, proceeding to the next question. This question is also very much important. After the death of the mother, what would happen to the three children? As the question here it is, what was the future prospect of those three children after the death of their mother? So here you see, another slide, or from the text you can see it. In the beginning it is written, what is to be done with the children. I am not going to read out the entire passage, it will consume our valuable time, so I am just underlining the important portions from this paragraph. Now here you see this one, Harmer Jones. The second one, Mrs. Elise. Okay, this is important here. In the next slide also, as you can see, from the textbook reading is very important. Okay, without textbook reading, you can't answer to all the questions. Now here it is. What would be here it is written? But no one said, I will take Maggie. No one said it. And here you see what is written, who wanted a bedridden child? No one. So, but none open to take her in. And who wanted a bedridden child? So, these portions are important and you must read the text. Here you see the beautiful slide. I have drawn a comparison between Maggie on one hand and the other two children, John and Kate. Here you can see it would help you remember the key points. Here it is written Maggie, and here John and Kate. So here you see Maggie. What happened to Maggie? Maggie was a chronically ill girl. Why? Because she fell down from a window and she injured her spine. Since then, she was confined to bed, and we can call her a bedridden child. So obviously, if you take the responsibility of a handicapped child or a bedridden child, obviously it is tantamount to adding misery to your life. Therefore, no villager, no one was ready to accept Maggie. So we can say that Maggie had a very bleak future. Is it or not so? But what about John and Kate? Both of them are able-bodied. Okay, they could be employed. They could be engaged in any kind of work or activity. Therefore, here you see John. In case of John, he was employed in farming by the soft-hearted guy, Mr. Jones. And what about Kate? Kate was engaged in household chores by Mrs. Elise. Therefore, we can say that both of them, John and Kate, had a very prosperous future. So while Maggie had a bleak future, John and Kate had prosperous future. Okay, so these are the key points you must note down. Okay, you should sit with a pen and a paper to note down everything, because nothing is equivalent to hard work. If you want to be a good scorer, you must work very hard. Okay. Now, in the next slide, I will show you a model answer. In my note, you will get it. Here also, I am not going to read it out. It will consume our time. Here you can pause the video and see the answer all by yourself. But here I have remarked it, bleak future, prosperous future, and as the conclusion, I have written the neighbors, these neighbors who have shown their sympathy. This sympathy was apparent. Actually, they displayed their selfishness. Therefore, no one was ready to open the door of their heart for Maggie. Is it or not so? Obviously, it pinpoints their selfishness. Now, our third question. Next slide. Question number 3. Which shelter was suggested by one of the neighbors for the bedridden child. And why? Now the answer here from the textbook itself. Text reading is very much important. I told you. Take her to the poorhouse. Sometimes you may be separately asked what is called a poorhouse. Here it is written. You may write it from the very text itself that the poorhouse is a sad place for a sick and a helpless child. So Maggie here is a sick child and she was a helpless child. Is it or not so? So one of the neighbors suggested to take Maggie to the poorhouse where she would be taken care of. And here also in this paragraph it is written. You may read it. Now the model answer is before you. One of the neighbors suggested that Maggie should be taken to the poorhouse. And here I have also defined the institution poorhouse, as you can see, a charitable institution where the very poor people were sent to live and given work to do. Okay. Now this is the key phrase you should use. Here you see, blessed change. Blessed change. He said that this poorhouse would be a blessed change for the helpless, invalid Maggie. Obviously, this is quite true. Because there she would be kept clean, there she would be given healthy food and provided medical care. Everything would be given to her. Obviously, it would be far better for her because far better than her present wretched condition. So, okay. So these things, these keywords or key phrases that I have underlined, these are very much important for you to include in your answer. Then the examiner would not be dare to deduct any marks for me. Okay. So hope you are getting my point. Let me clear the drawings first. Moving on to the next slide. Question number 4 before you. Why do you think the man stood with a puzzled air? What did he do when he went into the hovel? So when this question comes, suppose with the textbook line, textbook quotation, for a little while the man stood with a puzzled air. So puzzled air, if this question comes, then you might be wondering from which text this is quoted, because you have not gone through the text itself. No, this is not the correct approach. Two things you have to do. Number one thing is to go through the text, detailed going through the text. And the second one, to have a good bunch of notes. Okay, you may also prepare all by yourself, but a good guidance is also needed. Now here I am going to show you the answer. Here Mr. Joe Thompson, when everyone left the house, left the hut, leaving Maggie all alone in that hovel, only there was one person, and he was none other than Mr. Joe Thompson. So why he was puzzled? Because he was at first, he was at that time having a kind of dilemma. What kind of dilemma? He was left with two options at that time. He became confused. Number one point here is that should he take Maggie to the poorhouse as per the suggestion of the villagers, or should he follow the example? I repeat, should he follow the example of the villagers to leave Maggie all alone in her hovel? So Mr. Thompson was calculating. He was in an undecided state, in a dilemma. But at last, she took the final call. She made the decision, no, I am not going to do either of these things. At last, he took the decision to take Maggie to his own house, and he did so. He here showed the magnanimity of his heart, really noteworthy as well as praiseworthy. So here you see the answer before you. After the burial of their mother, John and Kate were adopted by neighbors, but nobody was willing to take the invalid Maggie. So this is a kind of introduction. Rather, they suggested to send Maggie to the poorhouse and left. Joe Thompson did not want to send the crippled girl to the poorhouse, nor could he leave her alone. So she became puzzled here. As you can see, I have written this one. Nor could he leave her alone. And or it is there, did not want to send the crippled girl to the poorhouse. Therefore, she became here puzzled. Puzzled what to do with this destitute girl. Destitute means who is left alone. And the second answer, Joe with a magnanimous heart. You must use as a key word. Magnanimous heart means large-heartedness. Went into the hovel and stooped down over Maggie to assure her that she would not be left there alone. What he did, he wrapped her gently in the clean bed clothes and lifted her in his strong arms and started walking towards his home. Okay, such is the magnanimity, large-heartedness of this guy, Mr. Joe Thompson. He was really a great personality. This question is important for you. And the last question in today's video is equally important, better to say more important than all others. Who is referred to here as a precious burden and why? In this story, who is referred to? Obviously, precious burden refers to Maggie. And also, let me tell you that the term used here, what is the term? Valuable burden. This is an example of oxymoron. Now, what is oxymoron? Oxymoron is a kind of figure of speech in which two opposite words are juxtaposed side by side. Okay, but they convey a complete meaning. Let me give you an example for your better comprehension. If I say this glass is fully empty, so I have used the phrase fully empty. So empty, the opposite word is full. Full and empty are opposite words placed side by side, but they convey a complete meaning. When I say that the glass is fully empty, I didn't mean the glass is empty as well as full. I meant that the glass is completely empty. Not a single drop of water is in this glass. So hope you got this idea. Just like this example, valuable burden is also an oxymoronic expression. Because burden is a kind of load which we do not want to carry. Rather, we want to unload it. Okay. But here it is said this burden is valuable. Valuable, this burden is precious. Why? Because this burden here refers to Maggie. Maggie is called a burden because Maggie is a handicapped girl, and to take responsibility of Maggie, to take Maggie to one's own house is just like adding misery to one's own life. Therefore, no one accepted her. And why valuable? But at last, when Mr. Joe Thompson decided to take her in, when Joe Thompson carried her just near his chest at that time, love sprang into his life. We know that this man, Mr. Joe Thompson, was without any child. So there is a kind of vacuum in his life, the lack of love in his life, and that was fulfilled here by none other than Maggie herself. Therefore, we can say a father-daughter relationship was formed between them. Therefore, though Maggie might appear a burden to others, Maggie was valuable to Mr. Joe Thompson. Now here you how you should write or frame the answer. Here I am going to read just few lines for you. The oxymoronic phrase. Here you see how I am using all the key points as well as key words and phrases for you. Oxymoronic phrase. Precious burden refers to Maggie. She is crippled for life due to her vertebral injury. To take up the responsibility of an invalid girl simply and surely means to add misery to life. So Maggie is a burden. So you can notice that the language, the way I have framed the answer. So this is quite a technique, to impress your examiner. So Maggie is a burden, but when the childless Job held the sick child Maggie to his breast, he felt as if love spring into his life. A father-daughter bond was established between them. Hence, to Job, Maggie was a valuable burden, a fountain of love in his life. So in this way, you should frame the answer, just using all the keywords and not missing a single key point. Then only you can score 100 out of 100. And this is my guarantee to you. If you follow all these rules and techniques, then no one can stop you. You will be unstoppable. Okay? So here today's lesson ends. I am going to bid you goodbye. Tata. Stay happy and study hard. जीत की तैयारी करना.